I think, after my 2 videos about Japan and a review of Yukio Mishima's work, it's no secret that I'm a huge fan of Japanese flavor. And after learning about the PlayStation 4 exclusive, the Ghost of Tsushima, I immediately purchased a collector's edition, because we are talking about that very time of brave samurai with their very strange, especially by today's standards, code of honor. And now a game has come out that allows you to plunge headlong into medieval Japan at the end of the 13th century, at a time when the Mongols sawed whole nations off the face of the earth. So the island of Tsushima fell under the distribution.
Well, don't knock.
And you will have to play for one of the last surviving samurai of your clan, Jin Sakaya, bravely trying to defend his homeland. But even though Jin acts independently for most of the game, he cannot be called lonely in any way. It feels as if the whole island is trying to help him, and even nature is on his side. The wind serves as a guide, kindly prompting the desired path to the main character.
Mick.
What? And animals and birds, if you follow them, will certainly lead him to some interesting and useful places. But not all of them. Bears, for example, are unlikely to be happy with you and at most can lead you to a fragment from the movie Survivor. Nature is generally the pearl of this game. Almost everywhere you look, it feels as if you are in an unrealistically beautiful work of fine art, created from millions of details and colors. It's nice to just be in the game, riding through endless fields strewn with a blanket of flowers, dense autumn forests, snow-covered hills and bamboo groves, from which, at least, I really immersed myself in this world.
Stay. You can drink as much sake and as much as you want at the expense of the establishment.
With great joy. Yes, even the optional collectible activities here are truly samurai. Here you will find hot springs, search for temples and shrines, training Tamasajiri on bamboo. The game even gives you the opportunity to feel a little like a Haijin, composing haiku in particularly peaceful and beautiful places. And if anyone doesn't know, this is a genre of traditional Japanese lyrical poetry, almost like Pasha's technique, but decent.
I think you've got it all mixed up.
And for whom this is not enough, for full immersion, the developers have made a special Kurosawa filter, which turns the game into a solid reference to the works of this legendary director, from which the game becomes an absolute samurai simulator. But I haven't even told you almost anything about the gameplay yet. The game is a sandbox with complete freedom of choice of passage. You can help everyone in a row, trying to prepare the island for the final denouement, or you can explore all the side activities, collecting all the items both useful and purely cosmetic, of which there are just a huge number here, while enjoying the wagering of Trushni Ronin, or rush through the main quest straight to the final. The game does not force you to engage in endless farming and grinding, deliberately overcomplicating the passage. The choice is always up to the player, and personally I still do not recommend the latter option, since it is not only the fastest, but also the most interesting. The action game in the game is very intuitive, almost all of its elements one way or another you have met in other action games. There are several racks, styles and techniques for you and at the parry gate. Also, the player is free to choose an alternative path, the path of the hidden killer. Turning into shinobi, silently cutting out entire outposts, setting ambushes, throwing all kinds of kunai, smoke and exploding bombs. And personally, I like the open fight the most. There is even a special opportunity for this, when, approaching the camp of the foes, you call the strongest of them to a fair fight once at a time, and with pumping several at once, purely on reaction, cutting each of them with a single blow. This, by the way, helps a lot to dress up the enemy squad with lightning speed, since I would not call the game casual, especially on heavy difficulty. At first, I often snapped in full. And besides, different types of enemies need a different approach. For example, in order not to hammer the shield man for half an hour, because this will almost always lead to a fiasco, since there may be several of them at once, you need to switch to another rack, blows from which will throw the shield man off balance in just a few strokes, without giving time to go around and shut you up to all kinds of spearmen, dodgers with paired weapons, shooters and thugs, who also need their own approach, because of which it will not be possible to shut up absolutely. everyone with banal shouting, and you quickly realize that all means are good in war. Summing up, I will say that the game does not open up any supernova possibilities that players have not seen before. This is by no means a new word in the genre, but everything in it is done extremely soundly and stickily. For example, I personally like the game much more than similar games, for example, the same Assassin's Creed. Moreover, considering that there are not so many games in the Japanese setting, so if you, like me, are a fan of Japanese culture, if the words katana, sake, tanto, haiku and the rest are not empty words, and I think it's definitely not worth skipping this game, especially since it has already been released exclusively for PlayStation 4, and I'll leave a link to it in the description of the video. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, Telegram, Instagram and VK page. In all these social networks, the content is unique and does not repeat itself. Well, that's it. Do not get sick and see you again.